Hey, what's going on, guys? Jay here from EasyBladeShavingProducts.com. Welcome to a new episode of The Owner. Today we're in Butler, New Jersey. We're visiting It's Showtime Barbershop. We're visiting Hector and David, and they're going to talk about how they made it to the top of the barbering industry. Let's go inside. Hey, what's going on, guys? Jay here from EasyBladeShavingProducts.com. Today we're in It's Showtime Barbershop with Hector and David. Today we're going to talk about their stories. Let's get into it, guys.
What's going on, Jay?
All right. So before we start, I just want to talk about where you guys grew up. You know, where do you guys come from?
I was born and raised in Paterson, New Jersey, man. All my life there.
Nice. You?
I grew up in Union City. I moved up here about 15 years ago. I went to school up here. Been up here for about 15 years now.
How was Paterson when you grew up in Paterson?
Growing up in Paterson, yeah, we grew up real poor. It's real tough. Seen a lot of stuff shouldn't have seen growing up. But yeah, you know, it was. It still is a little adventure living out there, you know.
Nah, definitely. How was your background?
Well, I had two different upbringings because I started off, like I said, I grew up in Union City, a little more city area. My parents made some smart moves. We moved up here to the suburbs a little bit. I grew up out here, went to high school out here, so I can't complain. I didn't grow up around nothing too crazy. I had a pretty good upbringing. My parents were, did a good job.
So how about school? You went to school? You guys went to school? So heck.
I went to school. I don't know if you're familiar with Eastside High School.
Okay.
In Paterson. That's the high school I ended up going to. Yeah. I didn't graduate at Eastside. I was one of those guys who kind of got kicked out. But I did get my high school diploma downstate prison. Okay. That's how I got my high school diploma.
And you, I've heard you went to school.
Yeah, I have a degree in criminal justice and political science. Yeah. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out. I pursued it for about 3-4 years after I graduated. Just really didn't see any results. I was, pursuing being a police officer, probation, and just really wasn't working out for me. I really tried, and just the route to get to where I wanted to get, I felt was really complicated. I had to do a lot of, kissing ass, and kind of couldn't pave my own way, So I decided to go to cosmetology school 3 years later. In my family, I have a bunch of barbers in my family, so I kind of started pursuing that, cutting college friends and stuff like that.
So that's interesting. You said you went to school, finished school,
degree and everything, and I gave it 2-3 years. And
so for the people out there that they went to school and they probably got their parents and people like that telling them this isn't a career. How do you feel?
I tell people all the time, school's not for everybody. I don't think school was for me as well, but I gave it a shot. My parents were really adamant about me going to college. And I wanted to get a degree. It's not a bad thing to be able to get education and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So you went to school, and then I heard you say something about you got it downstate.
Yeah.
How was that? How that come about?
Growing up in Paterson, I had a full-time job, and things were still tight. I have a family, and I did what I did growing up. I was selling drugs since I was 13 years old. It's like a normal thing.
Like most inner city.
Yeah, most inner city kids grow up with that mentality. You either selling it or you doing it.
Yeah.
And I was selling it. I didn't want to be the customer. Yeah. And doing it for years, it was like normal. Yeah. And I still had a full-time job. I tried to do everything with a full-time job, but having a family wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So I continued to do that until I got in trouble, like I said, and I did about when I was 35 was when I got in real trouble. Okay. They actually ran up in my house, and I got caught with a couple guns, plenty of drugs. Yeah. Front of my family. It was one of the most embarrassing points of my life. And from there I ended up having to go away. And when I went downstate, that's where I got my high school diploma. I tried to stay away from all the negativity. Absolutely. I just wanted to do my time and get back home to my family, because obviously
How long did you have to
I was away for a little over 2 years from my
Okay.
family.
Okay.
And then, you know, thank God my wife, you know, she took care of home. She held it down for me. You know, I was able to come home and, you know, she kept everything where I came home like I never left.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I came home, that's where I'm facing the problem now to get to work.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah, because you got a felony, a record.
Exactly.
It's pretty hard.
And before I came home, when I was downstate prison, the guard, when I got to the prison that I had to do my time, there was a guard who came up to me. He's like, "You ever cut hair before?" Like, "You never cut hair." He goes, "Okay, follow me. You're gonna be the prison barber."
Wow. So
Just
that's
like
destiny.
that.
That's like destiny.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, never cut no hair.
Just,
I mean, I bald my head out. My kids with a clipper, and
just was nothing that
my
you
wife
wanted to
almost
do.
killed me.
There's nothing you wanted to do though.
Never did it. I love being at the barbershops.
Yeah.
I've always loved it, but I never did it. And when I was young, my first haircut that I paid selling, because they wouldn't take me to get a haircut.
Yeah.
I went and got my hair cut doing what I did. The officer, this correctional officer, I told him, like, "Look, I don't cut hair." He didn't care. There's an office and there's a cell with 2 chairs and 2 inmates who are the barbers.
Yeah.
And that's where I started. And these guys are coming in. If you know anything about prison, it's like segregation. It's like whites with the whites, blacks with the blacks, Spanish with the Spanish. So now I'm a Spanish guy and I'm cutting everybody. And they're coming in, "Yo, fade me out, brook me out, taper me out." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm not a barber." I want you to understand this guard is messing with you. And he's like, "Ah, man, you could do this." I'm like, "All right." And
That's deep.
I'm cutting. There's only clippers, no clipper sprays, missing clips, maybe 3 clips I had, because everybody, they just want you buzzed down. So I started cutting like that, and I had dudes walking around the yards with lines all over their head, messed up. I'm talking about now they lock you down. You're in your cell, and it's a square. So it's like the guy's in his cell over there. This is the middle of the yard. I'm in my cell here, and he's screaming and talking smack. Everybody wanted to fight me because I messed up their hair.
Serious?
Yo, man. And I'm sitting there eating noodles. "Where you going tonight?"
Yeah, what are you wearing by your hair?
You getting nice for your bunkie, man? Like, yo, get out of my face, bro. I told you I'm not a barber. This guards are messing with y'all, man. And I was like, whatever. Yo, I had the white guys. Everybody wanted to beat me up. But me being funny like that, talking to the people, they still kept coming back. And they was just getting takedowns with shape-ups.
Wow.
And that's what I stuck to. I can give you 1, 2, 3 with a shape up. That's all. 1 or 2 or a 3 . Pick that and a shape up, and that's it.
That's how most barbers start with the Caesars.
Exactly, and that's how I started.
So following coming out of prison, following that, like, when you came out, you wanted to go to barber school?
I started off that way. That's how I went to school. I was not planning on cutting hair. I got good grades. I passed everything. I went the first time for the written. I passed it, and when I did everything, I got the license very easy. It wasn't hard for me.
Gotcha.
It just, it wasn't what I thought I was coming home to do, you know? And then when I saw I couldn't get a job, that's where I ended up like, okay, I
So
gotta
for
make this work.
most people that have been in trouble with the law, this would be something that you would recommend for them as well, right?
I would definitely recommend it to a
Having
lot
something
of
on your
guys that were in my situation, because when I came home, I was used to a certain amount of money. And you know, like I said, when I did this, I was like, I have to be able to make what I was making.
Dave, and how'd you start? Like, what did you? I mean, you told me your story, but how did you start?
My whole thing was
college school.
Well, no, I had my cousins actually. A couple of my cousins cut hair, and they were in college. And my cousin was cutting out of his dorm. He went to Kane University, and he always used to tell me, "Yo, man, come down. You know, I'm cutting this and that." And I'd watch him cut, and I'd get my cut, and I saw him, man. He just kept making, you know, client after client after client. This is in a dorm room.
So you're looking at that money. Like,
so I'm like looking at him like, "Yo, man, this is cool. You gonna do this after school?" He's like, "Nah, man, I don't know." Like, he had his own career going, you know, and everything. I looked at it in a different way. I said, "Yo, man, this is something I could take on and I could do, you know, for myself." So I just started cutting hair a little bit in the dorms. I started getting some friends the same thing, and then I just went full force, and I said, yo, I'm gonna go to cosmetology school.
Yeah.
I enrolled myself.
So you left college?
Well, I finished college.
Oh, you finished college.
And, you know, I went to my parents, and my parents said, you know, this is
crazy.
great. This is great that you want to, you know, go towards this career, but this is on you now. You know, I'm now, you know, 21 years old. You know, it's time to step up.
So they helped
you
you
know,
with school and everything?
They helped me with college and everything,
College.
but, you know, now this is the direction I wanted to take my life in. So he said, yeah, go right ahead. And I had saved some money up, and I actually paid, you know, straight up for my cosmetology. And I went to school, and I just started grinding it out, cutting. And I'll be honest, the first, like you said, the first 2 years, it's tough, man. You cutting. I was cutting in my garage, you know, going house to house, trying to cut clients from here to there. But, you know, I pretty much started learning on my own. I kind of started to tell people, like, I'm of the YouTube generation of learning how to cut hair, because YouTube was a big influence, and just watching videos and nonstop, just getting education.
That's the beauty about technology.
But that's the great thing about now. I tell people all the time, how'd you learn how to cut hair? You know, I watch YouTube. And it's like,
back in the day, you know, when I used to cut hair,
there was nothing.
You couldn't do that.
There was
you
nothing.
had to go to a shop.
Or there wasn't people that were
hopefully
willing
you
to
had a
teach
barber that was willing to teach you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And I can't say I do have some influences of barbers that definitely taught me along the way. I have my cousin taught me a lot of things. His grandfather actually was cutting hair. He cut hair for over 60 years. So I would like to say it's in our blood, but I never said that, you know, it's not natural to me. Or, you know, cutting hair, I always have to put maximum effort into cutting hair, because it's not something that came natural.
So if there's a kid out there and he goes to school right now and he's cutting part-time, is this something you would recommend him? Like, if he's thinking about going full force, is this something you would recommend him to do?
I say, the only thing I say is that, you know, you think you have to get to a certain point, but there's levels past that you don't even know.
True.
So you got to set your goals, you know, small at first, and just have 2-3 clients and make them happy. If you could cut their hair good, you know, there's another client that gets that same haircut that might like the way you do that style. And you build from there, and it's little by little, man. I tell people there's always going to be a breaking point where you're going to say, hey, maybe this is not for me. And you just got to push through. And it's like any other business. You know, there's going to be ups and downs. But you gotta try to be able to climb that mountain, you know, and just try to be able to get through it. And like I said, it's not for everybody, you know. There's other, you know, trades out there that you might be able to pick up a lot better.
But you recommend a trade?
I do recommend a trade.
Job, basically.
Nowadays, I just think it's more rewarding. I think, you know, you have this, whatever it may be, you know. You start with something and then you finish it.
I always say about a trade is, like, they can't take it from you.
They can never take it from you.
So regardless of anything, I was cutting hair for 20 years. Right. So regardless, it can never.
Exactly.
They can take everything away from you.
Yeah, they can take everything away.
Take my hands.
It's not like you could go to a self-checkout haircut thing and self-checkout. Never.
That's what's also about electricians, welding, like you said.
Exactly.
You always gonna have money.
It's never gonna die.
It's never smart.
Exactly.
But I also know for that, I understand that Hector was the first owner of the barbershop. How did that work out? How did you even end up following from cosmetology school, ending up in this position, and the first shop? Is this the first shop you ever worked in? How's that work?
This was the second shop I worked in, and it's a funny story. Everything fell into place for me. Like I said, you know, there's a barber shop up there. The guy needs a barber. He had 4 barbers. He just fired them all. And I told him that you had a license, and I'm like, all the way in Butler, like, I don't want to go up there. So anyway, I remember I'm in the office, and I look into my old office where I was sitting, and I was so upset. I don't know if you ever understand. I was 12 years sitting. I worked my way.
Oh, so you had your own office and everything?
I had an office in there. I traveled.
So not only did you get arrested, you lost your job.
I lost my job, and then this man still has his job, and I ate everything.
So the co-defendant was actually working with you?
Yeah, the co-defendant was my boss. He was my boss. And how am I tell my boss not to, he still has his job, and how am I tell my boss not to come to my house? He comes to my house when they're watching, and that's how I get snagged up, which I don't blame him. I was being watched. It was going to happen, you know? But then from there, I came up here. The guy called me. His name was Lenny. Real nice guy, young guy. So 33 years old at the time.
And this is the actual shop where?
This is the shop where he worked. It didn't look like this, but when I came in, there was no interview. I remember I picked up my stuff from the other shop, and I remember I walked in, and he saw me with my bag, and I introduced myself. He's like, set up. get to cutting. The shop was full,
Oh, wow.
and I
You
just
find
started
stuff with
cutting.
people here.
Yeah, so people just started jumping into my chair, and he saw I was going, and I'm not scared
Yeah, yeah.
because like I said, I cut the people in prison.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
when I was
That's
scared.
when you were scared,
want to
yeah.
sweat? Sweat in prison. I was sweating
Real
in
criminals,
prison.
yeah.
Here I'm cutting, but I was more scared of the scissor work because I'm being from prison clipper
Yeah.
barber.
You walk around with scissors in prison.
Yeah, and in prison you wasn't allowed scissors.
Yeah.
You know? So now I'm going to, I'm watching this young guy who's definitely very, very good barber.
Yeah.
And that first day I made more money in that day than I made in the 2 weeks.
Yeah, not the $38 and the $58.
Yeah.
$38 and $56.
So me and the guy, we hit it off real quick, and I come to find out he knew one of my younger cousins. They went to school together.
Yeah.
So I started working for him, and the guy ends up going away on vacation to Santo Domingo, DR.
Okay.
And I stayed with the shop running it for him. I was just doing the cuts. And when he came back from vacation, he ended up going into the hospital. The next day they admitted him. 10 days later, he passes away. I remember the landlord coming in to the building, and he saw me cutting. He's like, why don't you take over the shop? And I was like, nah. I was like, I always, in prison, even in prison, they said, what you gonna do? I'll open up a barbershop.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that I would sit there. I went to school. It's like, if I can't do nothing, I'll open a shop.
How long was this from when you came out of prison? How long did you end up?
I
how long
came
was you
out
with a
of
guy?
prison June
June.
of 2012, June 5th.
Yeah.
I came to work for Lenny 2 months after that. And Lenny passed away in October.
So 3 months. You knew Lenny for 3 months.
Yeah.
Lenny passes away.
He passes away, and now
The landlord's asking you to take over the shop.
the landlord's renewing the lease with me. Because now I went back to church. I always say this. I went back to church, and like I said, I was like, I didn't want the shop. Because I was like, I don't want it like that. Like, I didn't work for it.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that the one person told me, he goes, when something dies, something else is born. He said, that shop is yours.
Yeah.
That shop is meant for you.
Yeah.
And then I spoke to my wife. My wife encouraged me, like, you could do it, my family. And I was real nervous because, like I said, I had a little chunk of change. I was like, I'm going to put this in and try to go for it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I redid the lease with the owner, and now, I kind of gave my man's wife a couple dollars just for whatever she left here to help him out. But we pretty much, once...
Did she feel some type of way?
No, she was happy.
She was happy you actually got to live on bring the legacy.
She came and spoke to me also about it.
Yeah.
And, she asked me, and the crazy thing was all the barbers that he fired all came back while I took over.
Yeah.
And I heard the story of everything he went through with them.
Yeah.
And they all wanted to come back to work here. And, I said no. While they talking to his wife, she's like, oh, I don't own the shop. Like, Hector's the owner. Who's Hector? Nobody knows me as a barber.
Yeah.
All these
Who's
barbers,
this guy?
they don't know who.
So they were coming to do the same thing. They
So
heard what
they
happened.
wanted to come.
They were trying to
they
take
tried
over
to take over because they
themselves.
wanted.
Yeah.
And basically, like I said, I was like, no, I'm not. I know what happened. If it didn't work with Lenny, it's not gonna work with me because.
And then just for his name.
Out of respect for him,
Yeah.
like I said, I was like, I want this to keep going. And I want him to see what I saw. And I started cutting, and it was hard for me because all those other barbers were at another shop.
Yeah.
And it's just me against like 5 barbers.
Yeah.
And everybody's lying saying the shop is closed down, Lenny passed away. We never closed.
Yeah.
Kept going. And that's when I started going through my little thing, trying to, find barbers to help me out, which was...
How long were you by yourself, before you found your partner? Because I understand you guys are partners, but you were here first following Lenny's unfortunate death.
Right. I was here, I went through about 2-3 barbers before Dave came. And, before he came to work here, he was working at another shop.
Okay.
So I was working here, I needed help. And I knew a couple guys from the school, and I tried them out where I graduated, but it didn't work out well. It was a very bad experience. Finally, I put an ad up on Craigslist, and that same afternoon, I get a phone call from Dave.
Wow.
So I was by myself. Maybe the first two months, I hired a couple of guys, and it didn't work out. I had one guy working with me before Dave called. I think Dave, you called what, like November?
Like beginning of November.
Yeah, it was like beginning of November. He
How many
called.
months was this when how long the shop was open?
Well,
how long you were here by yourself?
Lenny passed away in October,
Okay.
and I was working the shop still. His wife, everything, you know, we was going through the transition.
Okay.
When I finally did everything and the paperwork was done and everything's transitioned over into my name, that's when Dave showed up and came. And
mid-November. So
mid-November, he calls. And he came in. I was like, yeah, just come on in, bring somebody in for a haircut, because I was tired of talking to people. The wrong thing I was doing was like just letting people cut, and they couldn't cut. So I was like, let me ask him to do a haircut. He came in, he did a haircut, and I was like, when can we start? Because I needed help.
So how was that experience for you? Like, would you went on Craigslist one day?
Well, I was literally on Craigslist, so I want to say no more than like 15 minutes.
How's your partner relationship? You guys get along?
I mean, I can tell from day one, we've never, listen, we have disagreements. No, of course, like anybody else in any other type of relationship.
But it's not like
you have disagreements.
That's awesome.
But we always find a way to come to a solution.
Awesome,
Yeah,
so
so
but 2 years
I mean,
out, I'm sure you knew about 2 years down the line. You're like, I like this.
No, I knew from the rip. My thing is loyalty, morals, respect.
Exactly.
And I see the dude's a hard worker.
All right, Hector, now for you, what do you think? What's a good tip for these guys out there?
I mean, the best tip I could give them is, you know, to be consistent, be dependent. Just make sure you're there for your clients when you need them, and you know, put the best effort you could in every cut. That
Never
you
seem unavailable. You can always be available.
Don't
to
act
your
like
clients.
you're a superstar. You're too good to cut anybody. You know.
All right, guys, there you have it. You heard it. It's Showtime Barbershop. Welcome to the new episode of The Owner. Hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. I will talk to you guys soon. Jay here from EasyBladeShavingProducts.com.